April. I'd love to see April Wine, man. I don't know if they're around. If there's any members that are no longer with us, I have no idea. But that'd be a good show to see.
Absolutely,
love to see.
Yeah. Oh.
A fun show to see.
Must have been because we were talking about Lakeland General Store earlier today. I had that in my head.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Rob Port, standingblog.com, Commerce Forum Communications. What's going on, man?
Watching the special session unfold down in Bismarck.
That's got to be some exciting watching.
It is.
That's sarcasm there. You know that, right?
Yeah, I think everybody, I mean, there's the redistricting, there's the ARPA funding. I think everybody today was kind of all the delayed bills, right? So all these COVID-19 bills or anything. The Senate Delayed Bills Committee considered 5. They passed out 1, and the only one they passed out was like a technical correction to a scholarships bill they passed earlier this year. None of the hot button issues. In the House was kind of where the action was. They had 21 bills before the Delayed Bills Committee, and out of those they advanced 8 of them. Some of the hot ones is Representative Jim Casper from Fargo had a critical race theory bill that went forward. Cole Christensen, Republican, I'm forgetting where he's from, rural North Dakota. He had it's a non-binding resolution, but just stating that parents are, the primary stakeholders in their children's education. Even the Democrats on the committee voted for that one. That passed out unanimously. Nice. Let's see, Representative Paulson from up here in Minot had a no discrimination for vaccination status, so no like vaccine passports, or you can't not hire somebody because they're vaccinated. State Representative Robin,
that one went through.
That one came out at Delayed Bills Committee. Representative Robin Weiss had a bill about employer vaccine mandates, and they just put in something there. If you have a vaccine mandate and somebody doesn't get a vaccine, you have to allow testing as an alternative.
Okay.
That was one of the features of these bills, and I'm just giving very brief. Some of these are a little complicated. Let's see, and then because I'm just trying to hit the hot ones. Let's see. Representative Jim Casper had another one. Limitations on employee vaccine mandates. That came out. And then Representative Twite had a right to use off-label drugs. So right to use drugs off-label. If your doctor wants to prescribe them for you or whatever, we're going to put it in state law. They can. That passed out 3-2 as well. So that was kind of, but some of the bills like Representative Rick Becker's ban on employer vaccine mandates, where he basically they would have taken any tax exemptions or credits or whatever that you receive away if an employer puts in place a vaccine mandate. That failed. That didn't even get a motion to advance. Let's see. There's another one from Representative Sebastian Ertelt, was just a total ban on even private sector vaccine mandates. That one didn't even get a motion to advance. So that's kind of most of them got killed. They really thinned the herd today.
Well, so yeah, because they were there for 2 main purposes. That's the redistricting, and then what to do with the
ARPA
federal
money by the Biden bucks. Yeah,
American Restoration or whatever they're called. Not American Restoration, whatever they call it.
Yeah, whatever the hell the acronym stands for.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Matt, West Fargo, Jay Thomas Show.
Hey, Rob. Just looking at all these bills that you're seeing. As the Republican Party of North Dakota, have they totally abandoned local control? Whether it's, what businesses can and can't do, what school boards can and can't do. I'm just,
I'm frustrated.
I don't know how that's tied to conservatism anymore.
I'm frustrated with that as well. I think a lot of what's going on here is that these are really, really hot button issues, and we're dealing with politicians, right? I mean, we're dealing with a lot of people like Rick Becker and some of these others that really like people talking about them, and they're just whatever hot button issue they can glom onto, because it's some buzzword that's being talked a lot about on cable news, they're going to do it. And conservative principles about allowing private businesses to make up their own policies when it comes to vaccines, when it comes to allowing local local school districts or local government, kind of do things with vaccines or masks or whatever. A lot of that's going out the window. I think a lot of these guys, they want to portray themselves as the capital T, capital C, true conservatives, but a lot of what they're doing is not in keeping with conservative principles.
So North Dakota jumps on the lawsuit against the Biden administration on federal mandates, I'm all for the states jumping on that, because I don't think the government should be mandating this, but that's on a federal level. I don't like the fact that businesses do it, but with that said, This is America.
Whether or not you like it, right? It's just how, like the First Amendment, I don't have to like what you're saying in order to support your right to say it.
That's right.
I don't have to like what your policy is as a business owner, but if you want to make vaccines a requirement to work there or to shop there or whatever, that's up to you.
Free
You're
market
allowed
will
to do that.
and the free market
Right.
will decide if they go to that business or
And,
not.
and
I don't
eventually
like
we're
any of
going to
that
move
stuff,
past some of this stuff. You know, we're starting. What I think is even more exciting now than the vaccines is you're seeing some of the drug companies come out with
Pills.
with pills
Yeah.
that are treatment, so that if you do get it, you know, we're going to be able to treat it. I mean, we're going to get more and more effective as this goes on. So, I mean, right now, I think what you're having, it's sort of a battle of the hysterics, right? It's the hysterics on one side that don't want the pandemic to end because it's allowed the government to grab up all this new authority.
Yep.
And then the opportunists on the other side who are trying to, advance their own political careers or media careers or whatever by making a big flipping deal and promoting conspiracy theories and everything else.
I'm just so sick of all of it, and you know, I try to get away from it and not talk about it, but it's hard because it's what people are talking about. It's affecting people's lives.
Well,
but
this is our legislature's in session in Bismarck. How do you not talk about the bills, that are potentially going to become laws? Now, I should say that out of all these bills that were not advanced in the delayed bills committee, they could still potentially come back.
Okay.
I think what can happen is the lawmaker who introduced them can ask for reconsideration on the floor of the House, and then the floor of the legislative chamber, and then I think it requires from there a 2/3 vote, at which point it could be introduced. The bills that were advanced, they now go to their respective policy committees, and you're going to have the normal process where people come in and testify. But I don't even like that, because when it's a special session, Jay, like say I don't know, one of these bills is going to impact you as a business owner. And now all of a sudden you have to scramble and find your way to Bismarck to try to testify this on a random special session in November.
Good luck.
It's a different thing when it's the regular session. Everybody plans for it. Everybody's paying attention. That's where special sessions are for special consideration. Stuff like redistricting, stuff like the ARPA funds that we can't necessarily wait till the next regular session. That's what it's for. A lot of this stuff can wait. I don't understand why they're bringing it up in the special session. Other than, from my perspective, it's just kind of grandstanding.
What do you think? Because over the weekend, the Fifth Circuit Court, which is a very conservative a bunch of judges, have put a halt on President Biden's mandate, which I applaud. Fantastic, but who knows where it's going to go from there. You've got how many states now that are jumping on this lawsuit, plus businesses.
Yeah.
Do you think, because I know there's been like 17 cases so far that have been thrown out of the courts. The judges said no, they can do these mandates, but that's not on a federal level. So this is a whole different thing. Do you think that this, and they're going through, the administration say, hey, look, we're using OSHA. OSHA has the powers. They can do this if there's grave danger, which I'm not buying that garbage either.
I mean, that's certainly the Biden administration's argument. But
well, that's what their argument is.
Right.
But I don't see this happening. This federal mandate. I just don't see.
I think
happening.
it's going to come down. I think about it in another context when we had Obamacare, right? The Affordable Care Act came through, and a big part of that was all of these new mandates on, you gotta cover birth control, and you gotta do all this stuff, and all these businesses and everything, and state governments, and everything. And eventually that got overturned. I think what's very peculiar about what the Biden administration is doing, as opposed to, because a lot of the 17 cases that you're talking about, that's not the government necessarily telling businesses,
no,
you have to have this policy. That's what's very specific. It's a different from saying, a local government can order masks or something like that. That's a very different thing than you, a private business owner, have to order your employees to get this very specific, medical treatment. I think the Fifth Circuit, I'm trying to remember the phrase that when they stated, they said they were very serious and consequential. Those might not be the words they used, but they said, there are very serious constitutional questions to consider.
That's what they brought up, yeah.
And they're right. And I think you're right. It's not going to stand. And earlier I said, this is kind of seems like a fight between the hysterics. And I think that's a big problem. I am 100% pro-vaccine, but I think that this uncompromising, vitriolic argument for vaccines that's coming from some people has done more harm than good. We want to persuade people. I mean, ultimately, we want people to get vaccines because they're persuaded that they work and this is the right thing for my family. We want people to choose that, right? But I don't. But if you're forcing them, I don't think that ends well. Not just for this vaccine, but in the future when we have others. I don't know. Maybe measles or something comes back, and we need new vaccines for that, or I don't know. Whatever it is, we need people to get vaccinated. These things work.
They blew their messaging on this, and there's no coming back from that. The only way you can come back from that is just stop the force and let people make that decision.
Well, that's because
here's the thing.
Well, what they did is
the vaccines. Here's the thing. This vaccine, for many people, say it's too new. It hasn't been out there long enough. You'll see as time goes on, and if the government stops their mandates and all that, you'll see more and more people getting it.
Yeah, well, already in North Dakota, 57% of the population has at least one shot. Now that they've opened the doors for kids, I think we're going to see that zoom up north of 70% very, very quickly. That's a high number. I mean, when you think about it, when you think about the amount of attention that these anti-vaccine stances and the amount of headlines and everything they generate, we are probably, I don't want to say by the end of the year, but I would say within months, we are going to be at, I think, over 75% vaccinated in the state of North Dakota.
And then at 7, and then when does herd immunity kick in? There's no talk of that.
I don't know. And I think the herd immunity thing, I don't know. All I could say is on an individual level, because the herd immunity thing's hard because COVID-19 doesn't necessarily, I think the reason why people stop is it doesn't necessarily stop you from spreading it. I think it makes it
the vaccinations.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. Like the vaccinations don't necessarily stop you from spreading it. What they do protect you from is you're less likely to contract it. You're less likely to be hospitalized. You're less likely to die. Mm-hmm. That still makes it very, very worthwhile. And that's the frustrating thing is I think by coming down with all these hard.
But that's your choice. This should be people's choices.
That's right. I agree with that. And so the government stepping in and taking the choice out of people's hand. I think what it is, it took a lot of people who could have been persuaded, and it allowed them to sort of end up locking arm in arm with the truly anti-vaccination people, right? Because there's a distinction between being anti-mandate and anti-vaccination. Now it's hard to distinguish between the two because you lumped them all into one group with these mandates. It's really unfortunate because there's a lot of very screwy people saying a lot of very stupid things about the vaccines that simply aren't true.
But let's, this if you take a look at the numbers, I want to say the numbers around 40, or maybe it's even a little bit over 40% of the deaths the last few months are fully vaccinated people. And I'm not an anti-vaccination guy. I'm not. I believe it's your choice between you and your doctor. But you're seeing more and more. A matter of fact, I just found out today, somebody I know very well, fully vaccinated. Got the COVID. Family members got it. It's just you're hearing more. I was
on the phone with State Representative Jeff Hoverson, who has helped organize this anti-vax rally that just happened in Bismarck today, and ended up couldn't go because he got COVID-19.
But wait a minute, was that an anti-vax rally or was it an anti-mandate?
Man, if you listen to Blind Joe's song, listen to all the things they were saying.
Blind Joe's song is that's a song to have some fun.
It's an anti-vax song.
Well, it's come on.
But
it's an anti. It's mandates.
Here's the thing. Dude. Here's the thing. If you look at the death rate, the people who are, because there's some statistical play there. The people who are most likely to be hospitalized are going to be the elderly or people who already have other conditions.
Big underlying.
And that's also the groups, right? The people who had pre-existing conditions, who were elderly. Those are the people who are the most vaccinated in our society. So it's maybe not surprising that among our very vulnerable populations, who are also just happen to be our most vaccinated populations, that a higher percentage of them are dying when there is a breakthrough that ends up putting them in the hospital.
Let me read some of these emails. Let's see. It says, we've never passed 40%. I don't know what this is. IZ rate for flu vaccines, the closest comparable voluntary vaccine to COVID. Our rates are fantastic for COVID. Okay. All right. So I say
compared to the flu, yeah, I guess. Yeah. That's
right. I mean, let's see. Another one says, Rob, isn't it fair to say a vax in general? Many people are very pro-vax, but this isn't a true vax. This is the issue with this one, and the amount of lying and deception that's been done is only hurting. I have no problem with other vax or my children getting vaccination shots, but not this one. Just don't trust the Fed, CDC, HOW, NIH, and all the others involved. And that's where people are at. They don't.
Yeah.
They
but
don't
I mean,
trust them.
but there's a problem at which, I mean, if you're just gonna, I'm just not gonna trust anybody. This is the problem. Is I think people we've defined a stance on vaccination as almost we've lumped it in with all these other cultural talismans that represent who we are. Are we right or are we left? Are we rural or whatever? So now vaccination status has been lumped in there. And so I think people they feel like I have to have this attitude about vaccinations, and it's not going to matter what the CDC or the NIH or the WHO or any of the other alphabet soup, it just doesn't matter. And to me, I think that's very troubling. Right? A common phrase I hear people, because I debate with people all the time, and a common phrase I hear from people say all the time is, you can't convince me about X, Y, and Z, right? Whatever it is we're talking about.
Yep.
And the thing is, I always think about when they say that, I can't convince you. Like, there's no set of facts that can be presented to you that could change your mind.
No.
And this, okay, so that's bother. Nothing, like no new set of information could change your mind.
But what do you care? What do you care if you can't change your mind? What do you care?
Because I care about other people.
But and
I
that's
don't subscribe to.
That's fine.
I don't subscribe to solipsism where I think I'm the only person in the world that matters.
Yeah, well,
I care about you, Jay. You and I
That's
talked about it. Like when
fantastic.
I was sick, I care about you. I care about Representative Jeff Hoverson, because although I'm very critical of him, he was actually the pastor in my parents' church.
No.
He's been to my house. I care about him as a human being. I wish he would get vaccinated and stop self-medicating with ivermectin.
But you have to understand that's his choice.
That is his choice.
He's one of these people.
That's right. That's right. And so that's the distinction.
You need to move on.
You'll also notice that I'm not going to move on.
No,
But I'm going to continue trying to persuade people to get the vaccination. What I'm not going to do is support the mandates.
Okay, let me read this. Now, I don't know. This is a survey, and this goes into what you were just saying, Rob. So according to the survey that just came out, half of the U.S. adults who are still unwilling to get the vaccine say there is nothing anyone can do to change their minds. It's a nationwide poll of more than 6,000 American adults, and half of them said there is nothing you're doing to change my mind. That's the mindset. That's the mindset.
So,
man.
well, and the thing is, I think it's an
Oh, by the way, hold on. Let me throw
Sure.
this in there. Contrary to previous polls, researchers for this one found that, because I say, well, it's Republicans or it's Trumpsters, or it says, contrary to researchers found that education, race, and gender did not provide any clear link to a person's unwillingness to take the COVID vaccine.
I think. I mean, in my own personal experience, it's people from a lot of different political backgrounds.
It's all over. Yeah,
it's not maybe as partisan as some people would like.
I will
to portray.
tell you the two
as
reasons
weird
why.
as it is, like the rhetoric rhetorically, it seems like it's very partisan. But then as a practical matter, as a practice, it doesn't seem as partisan as that. It's very confusing. Like it's a very odd and unique debate.
Hey, real quick, I don't mean to change the subject, Johnny, but real quick, you have Representative Casper. I can't remember if he's a representative, Jim Casper.
He's a rep.
The CRT. He doesn't want this in schools, and rightfully so. This garbage doesn't need to be taught. I'm not saying that you don't teach the history of America. Look, America's history, there are ugly spots, including slavery. We were taught that in high school, all about slavery.
We
should be
teach
part of it.
truth.
But teaching that because you're a certain skin color that you owe somebody an apology, or that this country is inherently racist, is a bunch of garbage, and that crap should not be taught to kids.
You're right.
Teach the history. Teach the truth.
Honestly, I think that former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice actually said it very well. She said that she wanted students, non-white students, right, students of color or whatever, she wanted them to feel like they're a part of our history too, and that we're not going to ignore the ugly parts of our history. But on the other hand, she also doesn't think that white children should feel guilty. Right, and I think that's exactly the right split. Let's not ignore the awful things that have happened in the past, because they happen. Our country is far from perfect. A lot of awful things have unfortunately happened. But
all other countries.
But just like every human, slice of humanity since the beginning of time has had problems. Right? There's been no perfect race or perfect society anywhere in the history of society. So the problem I have is we're going to dwell only on those negative things. And we're going to exaggerate them in some very ahistorical ways, like maybe the 1619 Project.
The new lieutenant governor of Virginia, I mean, she said, quit making us victims. Just stop with your garbage, okay? Quit with the victimizing Black America.
Right.
Just enough already.
Although, can I add that maybe Trump supporters stop acting like you're victims all the time? Because I'm hearing that constantly.
I'm a victim.
No, you're not.
Kidding.
I'm offended, Rob.
Are you offended? Snowflake? I heard you guys talking about that. I seem to have a habit of doing that with everybody.
I was going to bring up that. Boy, lately people just seem to be pounding on you. Have you changed your view on the world?
Not
Rob,
even a little bit.
I think so.
I mean, I'm as conservative as they come. There's just some things that are going on in the conservative movement that I care very deeply about that I don't like, and I'm going to speak out about them just like I always have.
Another email. Is it true, Jay, that postal workers are excluded from getting the COVID vaccine? How does that work for a federal job? But someone saving lives are forced to lose their job.
The post office is very unique.
Because they're not funded by the federal government, although Congress...
Not directly, yeah.
Yeah, not directly. The Postal Service technically doesn't fall under the federal guidelines.
And they have like a very unique union and stuff. Yeah, that's a unique situation.
Real unique. All right, dude, anything you're working on you want to plug before I let you go?
No, but if we're going to talk about the Postal Service, I'm actually waiting for some new glasses to show up today. I love the Postal Service's tracking system where it starts origin location, and then I get a message that says it's somewhere in our system, and then delivered.
Really?
Like that's the tracking system. Thanks, Post Office.
Are you having problem with products online, getting products online?
I really haven't actually. This is going to get delivered. I think this will be delivered right on time. I ordered some new eyeglasses from Zenni.
You couldn't go down to your local optometrist, buddy?
Because they're cheap as heck on Zenni.
I know. I know.
I'm sorry. I'm a rational consumer. I'm going to go where I get the best price.
Well, that's because you got to make sure you got money to fill that gas tank, dude.
No kidding. Oh, my Lord.
Over $70 for me to fill my tank today. I couldn't believe it.
I'm going to buy a Geo Metro or something.
Oh,
get rid of the Yukon.
There you go.
I have a 2016 Yukon I'm still driving around.
Well, I'm driving a big old GMC Sahara, so I'm with you, brother. All right, man. Have a good one. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. All right, come back. We'll get into some local stuff. Jay Thomas Show.